Hello, gorgeous.
You see, in this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
You're tearing me apart!
On your butt.
Round up the usual suspects.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Let's start this out. My name is Louis.
I'm Princess Naomi.
That's right, Princess
Yay!
Naomi. And we are movie nerds.
It's midnight.
Movie nerds. Yeah,
You gotta read you made the freaking logo.
Dyslexic.
You
What do
made
you
the
expect?
logo.
You know, it's
You
dyslexic.
left the whole word out. That's not dyslexic.
Midnight movie nerds.
Midnight movie nerds.
There you go. So we're midnight movie nerds, and today
I am.
We are. So today we're actually bringing up two freaking amazing movies that we just recently saw on Netflix that I had seen. The Circle. Circle.
Oh, after
I know,
you gave me such
I know.
crap about saying the.
I gave her so much shit about saying
did.
the. It's
He
like,
said
no,
the whole thing. He's like,
that's
"There's
Tom
no
Hanks.
the."
That's Tom Hanks. So,
Tommy.
Circle. Yes. Circle is actually a movie that came out, what? It was like 4 years ago?
2016,
Really?
2017,
Okay.
something
So
like that.
I remember when it first came out on Netflix, and I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. This concept is amazing. I love the social satire behind it and all that stuff. So we're actually going to go into that. But
Actually, what
more
started it was
Yes.
I was talking about how much I loved the platform.
La
which
Plataforma?
La Plataforma.
It's La Plataforma.
The platform. Let's get white about it.
Plataforma.
Anyway, shut up. Anyway, on Netflix, it's the platform. And I was talking about how much I loved it. And he was talking about how Circle
Yes.
is a good, what would you say? It's not
It's a
comparable, but it
political
covers
satire.
the same
It's political
social
satire.
question.
Yeah.
Commentary.
Social commentary.
There you go.
That's a proper one.
So that's why we decided to do
Yes.
one about it today.
Yes.
Yes.
So let's start off actually with the Plataforma. Or
The
La
platform.
Plataforma.
The platform.
I mixed it in. You see, Spanglish right there. So La Plataforma is actually a Spanish-speaking film. So yes, sometimes if you have Netflix, it will automatically go to English dubbed, which we found out.
Which it knew that I was white and didn't speak Spanish, apparently. And I didn't know it was in Spanish originally.
I watch Spanish films, so I guess it figured, oh, yes,
It's
actually
It
Spanish, and
knows.
he understands.
Mm-hmm.
That freaking,
It knew.
it's the brain capacity. The other films that I watch, too, the cerebral films and everything else.
Are you saying I don't watch cerebral films? Is
No,
this
you
because
don't
of the
watch
whatever?
cerebral films.
Is this the whatever?
You do not watch cerebral
I do.
films.
I watched The Platform, did I not?
Yes. But anyway, so La Plataforma is actually...
The Platform. It's literally right there.
La Plataforma,
Why do you gotta be all Spanish about it?
because that's a proper name.
Mm-hmm.
So... It is a social satire, but like when you first
A
tune
satire?
into it,
Is that what you said?
it's a satire.
It's not a satire.
It is a satire.
All right, you clearly don't, maybe you didn't really watch it.
Anyways, so this is about these people, I don't want to go into spoilers, so we're not going to mention how many people are actually in the prison, but there is a huge amount of people in the prison, and each floor in this prison that is called the Pit is
Actually, it's the VCMS, the Vertical Center Management
yeah, I know, but
System.
everybody calls it the Pit.
Yeah, but,
So every level has two people in it, and the further down you go in the levels, the less food you get because you're actually fed from the first level all the way down, and they send the same tray of food all the way down through to the bottom, and that's where it gets kind of about the political satire and the social.
What it really is, and what interested and intrigued me about this, is the fact that you get moved around each month. So
Yes.
there's no guarantee that what level you're on one month is going to be the same as the next one. So if the platform, if it starts way up at the top and you're high up, you get a lot of food. But then the next month you might be way down at the bottom of the pit, and then there is no food, which I think reflects the social aspect of our society, where it's
It really
like
does.
the higher ups have a lot and they don't really remember or know what it's like to be lower down and not have any food. And then it's like, if you go up, you forget what it's like to be down.
Exactly.
And that's a huge part of this movie, is the fact that
And we start off on what? On
the
level
elitism.
34?
No, they started at 48.
48. Okay, so we start off in 48, and we're actually introduced to the first character and you're also introduced to the fact that each person is able to bring one object, which plays a very important role. I love that.
What would you bring?
I don't know.
If you only had one object.
I'm not knowing what it is when you're getting into it.
Not knowing what you would need. But it seemed weird because a lot of people knew, or at least had an inclination of what to bring.
Not really, because...
But she's...
All right, so the main character actually says that he brings Don Quixote the book because he's been wanting to read this book forever, and he's been wanting to quit cigarettes. That's his reason to go to the platform and the pit. And the other reason is because he wants to get a degree. We don't find that out until later on down the road, but it's within the first act, so it's fair game to present it out here.
I think so, because it doesn't hurt it at all.
No, at all.
It's actually, not like a spoiler to the movie at all.
No, at all. And then his roommate is actually this very interesting character.
I love him. Personally, I freaking love him all the way through it.
He is a character,
he really
100%.
Is.
Like, he makes this movie and elevates this movie beyond anything else.
Obviously.
But he basically introduces the man that he's been in the pit for how? 10 months already?
Yeah, because he was going to be there a year.
That's right. Okay.
Well, actually, no, 9 months, because he was going to have 3 months. He had spent 2 years. He spent 2 months with Gearing, the main character, and he was going to have 1 more month.
No, but Gearing, how long?
Gearing was going to be there 6 months.
6 months.
And it was his first month there. So he was waking up in the pit.
Yes.
Is the start of the movie.
Exactly.
And his roommate is the one that basically tells him...
2 more months left.
Yeah, it's 2 more months left, and he was telling him what it means to be in the pit. Basically, he was giving him a how-to on how to survive.
An introduction. He was a guide and kind of gave him the insight on how to actually survive being in this, because the first thing he realizes is that the floor comes down. There's a giant gap in the middle of the room. And
kind of like a square donut.
Yeah. And he's like trying to figure out what the hell this is. He even walks up to it and looks down, and all you see is the abyss of all the floors below him.
But I love that because, and just as an aside, I love how this movie was edited, and I love the way you see down and up, and you see the people basically wandering around this hole in the center of the room because there's nothing else in there.
Exactly.
They have their one object, and then it's an empty room, a square, empty gray box.
Yeah, and then you had the 2 beds on either side, and that's it.
The biggest part is that the levels, even though they see each other, they don't interact, or at least they're not supposed to.
Well, it's not that they're not supposed to, it's that they don't.
But that's a societal thing, because you don't
thing.
Interact with people who are beneath you.
Exactly.
And people who are above you are going to ignore you.
Exactly.
So they don't interact voluntarily, though. They kind of all decide that, and that's part of the movie. The huge part is that when you're down low, you want people to be nice and work together, but when you're up high, you're like, screw you, we're above you.
Yeah, and then on top of that, the main thing and what creates this animosity towards the lower and higher up floors is the fact that the food goes down sequentially. It doesn't get replenished. So at the very first levels, you get this full buffet of food. And
it's amazing. This is gourmet level food. It's not prison food.
The film introduces it as this giant buffet that you're like...
Buffet?
Yeah, whatever, man.
You're like in a Friends moment. Phoebe buffet. Buffet. Pass it up.
So the buffet is basically... Buffet. What'd I say? Did I say buffet again?
It's a buffet.
The large amount of food that is given on this platform that goes down is like high level. It's high level quality. I mean, this is like top restaurant, top chef level type of shit. And it's created in this very uppity, grotesque way that it shows like the 1% class at the very top making this food that you would think is made for millionaires. It's like a one-sit dinner for a millionaire. Yeah. But that is actually food that is going to be going down through the platform.
Do you think part of that is to create the animosity so that by the time you get down to the bottom, because the people know what's at the top, you're not unaware of the amount and quality of the food that you're not getting when you're on the lower levels.
And that's because of the month rotation.
Yeah. So like his roommate was saying, well, I started at it was like 30, and then I went to 70, and then I was at 40, and then I was at 132.
Yeah. And
there was a very strong point. And I think this is not really spoilers, that you reach a certain level around 50 or 60, there's no more food.
There's no more.
Nobody saves the food for it. They're not working together. That's a huge theme in the movie from the start. Like within the first 15 minutes, the main character says, hey, if we all work together, there would be enough food for everyone. Yeah. And everyone's like kind of like, screw you from the top. They're like, we're not going to wait. We're not going to save food for you. And the people at the bottom are like, no, we're going to take it when it's here.
Exactly, and that's what he actually tries to do. He tries to.
I love that line. And he's like, Are you a communist? When he says that they should share it.
And he actually tries to reach out to the level above him, and they basically just completely ignore him.
Yeah.
And then the people below him are like, "Get the fuck out of here! What are you talking about?
Do anything, yeah.
Yeah, we just came from 200 and something. We're not going to be like scarce with our food." And it comes into play later on with the movie, honestly, and it's for a reason, I think. And let's introduce the other main character that comes down through the floors.
Yes.
So,
did they ever say her name?
Don't remember her name, actually.
I don't think they say her name. I don't think they ever introduce her. She's the mother.
Yeah.
What she is.
So the mother is actually this person that, according to the roommate, actually comes down through the levels on the platform
every month,
because she's in search of her daughter. And that is the main catalyst of the story, because that creates the spark in the main character's mind.
But I think that's when you see the difference between the main character and all these other characters, because, and again, it's not a spoiler that his roommate's like, do you want to keep her for a few days, implying that he's going to use her. And then they show a scene of two people trying to use her, but she is very kick-ass.
Yeah.
And doesn't take
she's
that.
She's a badass.
She totally is.
A complete badass. And she's trying to reach the bottom, which is where she thinks her daughter is. But
she can never get all the way down to the bottom.
But she can never get all the way to the bottom because somebody drags her down and she ends up stuck.
Her up, because there are no rules in the pit. That's the biggest thing. There are no prison guards or anything like that. There are no rules in the pit. They never see any of the people running the pit. And that's a huge part of the movie, because he says you can do anything you want in the pit, minus keeping food on your level, which is huge and a really cool element that you can't keep food. It's only your food when it's on your level, and it's only there for 5 minutes.
So the minute that you actually hold on to it, when the platform lowers past your level, you either freeze or burn. And there's actually scenes where you see people incinerated 100%.
Yeah.
And that is a very interesting aspect of it, because it keeps you...
Well, I like that because because one of the things is, so they say they don't work together, but it's something that they all understand, is that once the food is gone, it's the next levels. You can't keep it. It's not yours, and it's against the rules, even though it's not stated anywhere, but it's how they control it. It's against the rules to steal food because you're keeping it from the other levels.
Exactly. So but going back to the main woman that's going down through the levels, she keeps saying that she's trying to find her daughter.
But she doesn't talk all the way through it.
She doesn't talk.
This is what he's been told.
Yeah.
Because a lot of this movie is from the main character's perspective, being told what's happening in the pit. And learn, because he's very naive. Exactly.
But the main character actually brings a book of Don Quixote, which you can see the similarity with Don Quixote and the main character. And then on top of that,
always
you
wanting
have
and talking about doing things and these big grandiose ideas, but then never does anything.
Exactly.
Anyone who's read Don Quixote.
And then you have Pancho Villa, that is the other roommate, that is giving him the way to do it and giving him the motivation to do it, really. But at the same time, is saying, realistically, you're not going to accomplish shit.
So we still have another movie to talk about. So what would you give the platform? What would your rating be?
I love this movie. This is probably going to be on my top 10 of the year. I would probably give it a 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really... I've actually watched it 2 or 3 times since I first did, because it's one of those movies where you can watch it again and you get something different each time.
Exactly. And that's the other thing, is that every time you watch this movie, you will find a different element of it. We're going to go into spoilers at the end of this episode of both of these movies, but I don't want to spoil this movie if you've never seen it, either one of these, because I think it has a very interesting twist at the end, and it is very important to the film. So we'll talk about both of these films, spoilers, at the end of the film, at the end of this review. So the next one is...
It is PowerPoint. Circle. Did you see that?
It is not a PowerPoint.
It is sort of a PowerPoint.
Images in the back. So circle...
His little bullet points in his head.
So circle is... This is what happens when I'm out of work not out of work, but at home instead of at work. I'm missing my PowerPoint presentation.
Circle.
You hear that, Erica? Missing my PowerPoint presentation.
Circle is the one he made me watch after I saw Platform, and I said, "Oh, it's an amazing social commentary." And Lewis was like, "You have to see Circle."
Yes.
Because it's along the same lines, even though not really, but it does have that social aspect. And Circle, I mean, I didn't get quite as into this movie. I liked it, but I liked the platform more.
Yeah.
But I do see the similarities in this, and that basically high level 50,000 feet overview is this group of people, I think it's 50 people, wake up, not really knowing what they're at, in a circle.
Completely different people.
Different people that don't know each other.
The genders, there is no
rhyme or reason to it. Yeah. And
diverse
it's basically they wake up in a circle and they
exactly like this.
That is basically that. They wake up in a circle and they
Each
realize
person
they
is a dog.
can't move from the spot they're in.
Means that
And
they die.
every few minutes, somebody is dying.
Yes.
And they have to figure out that they're trying to figure out what's killing them, what's the system and the method or the means behind it, basically. Is that a good high-level overview?
And then you see one of the characters go like this. And you're wondering what the hell's going on because you don't see the point of view of these characters. You're seeing it from a God's eye point of view
You're
of
basically
it.
seeing it from the middle.
Yeah.
It's
A God's
basically
eye.
like almost,
The
yeah,
God's
like
eye.
it's like circling around. Like if this was where the camera was at,
I mean,
basically.
literally, you would
yeah.
see it like this at different angles like that. And then you see these people doing this little thing with their hands and you're like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And then one of them, you finally see what they're seeing is that these little triangles in the middle are actually changing.
It's
and-
almost like, what is it, roulette
Yes.
in Vegas?
Yes.
Kind of
So
like that same.
each time they move the roulette wheel to the next one and
We're
they
losing
vote.
people. Should I dance again?
No dancing. No dancing. So the roulette wheel falls onto
yeah.
a person, and if so many people choose that person, if it's basically a voting,
A vote.
yeah, it's a vote.
Majority
basis.
rules.
And the majority of people choose one person, they will die, and they get like this little like thunderbolt, and then get dragged off into the darkness.
But it's cool because these people are sitting there going, okay, they're trying to find logic to a situation
They're
that
trying to.
basically has no rhyme or reason to them at first. There's no method to it.
And then once they figure out that you're actually voting with your hands and your eyes, then they start trying to play
But
the
what's
card
really
who should go
cool
first.
is you see the disintegration where it's first they're like, okay, we want to save everybody. How can we all work together to save everybody? And then it kind of goes to, well, who's less deserving of being alive anymore?
So
Which,
that,
you know,
that's I want to hear your comments on this, everybody. If you were stuck in a room with all ages, all sexes, all genders, children, even what do you call it, pregnant women, what do you call it, elderly, all these people, teenagers, and there's all kinds of social class. There's not really anything. There's no identifier that's consistent in
Yeah.
this.
Military.
In this election. Military,
police,
everybody. So
doctors, like it was the gauntlet of
Yeah.
people that you could have in it. Criminals
criminals even, and
or
that's
former criminals.
former criminals. Who would you choose first? What group would you actually select?
And it's interesting because
first?
this is actually where we disagreed because in the
I said
movie,
go for the older people.
which is what they do. They say that if you're older, you've kind of lived your life and you don't really need to be alive anymore. So they're like oldest first.
I say the same thing.
And I was
honestly
like, what?
do.
Just because you're old, you don't deserve to live anymore? But, you know, the counterpoint would be, well, if you're young, you haven't gotten a chance to live your life yet. And the elderly have already kind of done that. And their logic is they'd be the first to die outside of this situation.
Exactly.
And
So
I think they
it's
started
going in that
out,
order.
they're like in the 70s or 80s range. Like they were going from oldest and they were going progressively down. But as you got more people in a larger group of that age demographic, all of a sudden they were not cool with that idea. Like once they hit the 50s, they were
Well,
like,
not
what?
only that,
No.
Not only that, you had the aspect of where like you can't tell if this person is 70 or
Yeah.
60 or 50.
Right.
And what happens then? Because it's all based on looks. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
You don't know, really. So it's kind of interesting.
But I think the biggest thing about this movie, and it's not a spoiler because you see at the beginning, is the issue of protecting a pregnant woman and a child.
yes,
They are the two that are
because there's
considered
only one of each.
the protected class all the way through. And what it was the dynamic of how that as the options got less, the group started to split apart, and you can see it where factions started happening, and they started going one against the other and pitting each other against each other. And they actually came to the conclusion early on of what was going to happen in the end.
Exactly. But the
So-
other thing that I think is fascinating is the kind of like group mentality that is involved in this, because it is very human to create a group and kind of understand, oh yeah, this group is going to be making this decision. So, you know, I think it's all that group mentality that kind of we struggle with on a daily basis, and we make our decisions based on group thought and whether that's good or not. I think that's really the main concept.
Well,
of
and I
this
think
film.
it was really cool because all the way through it, you see people flipping their loyalties.
Yeah.
Which
And I
is
think
part of
that's
that group
important.
thing. Like, especially when it came down to, like, would I sacrifice myself for somebody else?
Exactly.
That's a huge part of it.
And
So,
that's another question. Would you actually sacrifice yourself for the greater good? Because you know eventually you're going to get voted out, because the only people that are going to be left are the child and the mother with the pregnant mother. So it's like, do you really want to just wait it out? And there's one guy that actually says, fuck this. I can't make this decision. I'm not going to vote for somebody to die.
Yeah.
And then you have somebody else that refuses to vote because he doesn't want to be chosen to be killed.
I think the best part of this movie are the douchey people that really are like egging other people on to sacrifice themselves. And there's almost group pressure. Like, do you really want to do this? And you're kind of like, you look like a jackass if you're like, no, I don't really want to die.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, but it's obvious to see how these two movies sort of connect because it is a group mentality.
Yeah.
Very much of them having to either work together. It's like work together or die.
And it's just odd situation where you don't know what's going on. These people literally woke up from a fog, standing in the middle of this room with 49 other people. And because of that, you're figuring out what is going on at the same time as the audience. But they don't
have a lot of time to do it. That's the big thing, I think, in this movie. And what keeps it moving is the fact they only have about every 2 minutes. Yeah. Someone is going to die. And they know that every 2 minutes.
Just like the platform.
And the first
you only have the food for
10 minutes of it, they don't understand what's happening. So it feels very random.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing where they're like, okay, vote for yourself. Okay, vote for the person next to you. Like, because one of the things is they can't tie.
Yeah.
And you can't vote for yourself. So I think that's a really cool aspect because it moves it along really quick because they don't have a lot of time to sit and plan this out. So it sounds like they do. Like they have all this time to talk and have strategy. They don't. It's going to just pick someone.
Going.
If they don't do it, it will pick someone for them.
Exactly. And the other thing is that they start figuring out that these are the only two people that are going to survive. Mm-hmm. So let's try to pick them because we want to get them out of the way. So that way we can survive.
But it's sort of like the platform where you're seeing the morality of different people and how it changes. And as it whittles down the group.
Yeah.
It's okay. They're less willing to say, and I think that's a big thing. And I think you've done a review of this already. And the question
way back
that you and William went over is, who would you pick, the mom or the child to protect?
I say the pregnant woman because that is 2 lives there that you could save.
I say the kid, but I think it's the mom in me that I was just seeing a kid, and I was like, no.
But I look at it like, okay, you have not only a woman because you don't know if the rest of the world is having this same situation. But there were interesting
aspects because she's a mom to be, but there were also moms just because their kids weren't there. So that came into it. Like, if you have kids, are you more worthy to be alive than someone who's childless? Like, but that was an issue in the movie. Like, who has done redeeming things? And one guy who is a total douche, I will admit, says, like, if you've contributed more to society, shouldn't you have more of a right to live than someone who's been
that man pissed me off.
Well, no, he was.
There's certain characters in this.
Is a pregnant woman more deserving to live than someone who's already had kids, or someone who wants to have kids? Remember, one woman said, "I want to be pregnant one day."
Yeah, but you don't know if society's going to allow you to.
Yeah, but what about the people who already had a kid? Why are they less deserving than the person who was?
Because you don't know if that child is going to be alive or not after this.
That's true. Anyway, so it delves into those questions, but I do think it pulls at your heartstrings no matter who you are.
Oh, yeah.
To see, like, this kid
it's a white knuckler.
Yeah, and the pregnant woman, and obviously the fact that it all the way through it, you don't really know what's going to happen, and people do flip.
Yeah.
All the way through it, which is really cool.
All the way through. And it is, if you think you figured out what it is, it flips you on a switch as soon as you try to figure out
the last 5 minutes. That's part of the movie.
No, I think the best part is towards the middle. But
I think
it's towards the middle.
I think it's one of those movies where it's good all the way through.
Yeah.
Because it keeps you guessing all the way through.
All the way until the end.
Because nobody's safe. And that's the cool part.
Yeah. So I think it's really fascinating. Now, so everybody if you have not watched either one of these 2 movies, please sit down, watch this, come back to the video. But at this point, we are going to be spoiling the fuck out of these 2 movies. Out of the fuck out of these 2 movies.
Did you change the thing again?
I did.
Okay.
Now it has both movies. You see?
Why am I on the side of the one I did like less?
I don't know. It's your fault. So, all right.
Once again.
So yes, let's start out with la plataforma.
Every time you say it like that, I'm going to start dancing.
The platform.
Okay, there we go.
So the platform, it has a very fascinating plot with that same woman that keeps going down through the levels. Mm-hmm. And my theory, there's 3 theories I have.
Okay.
So if you want to go first with your theory on it.
No, I actually like your theories a lot because I looked at it more surface level.
Okay. Yeah.
It's even funnier the second time I make that joke, right?
Yeah, right.
Anyway, I looked at it very surface level, and mine was all about that it was a representation of society,
Which is one of mine.
I am very dense, and did not see the symbolism that you did apparently. So why don't you go ahead?
Okay, so besides the societal thing that obviously it is like a tower of
money, currency is food, basically.
Yeah, and then not only that, it's every aspect and step down is a lower class in society.
Oh yeah, it's like upper, middle, lower class, definitely.
Exactly. So we get revealed, mind you, this is a huge spoiler, so please, if you haven't seen the movie...
And you want to.
Go watch it. If you were intrigued by the review at the beginning, go watch it. This is going to spoil the fuck out of this. That's final disclaimer, guys.
Yeah.
So there's 333 levels. Mind you, 333 with 2 people on each level, that's 666.
Spoiler alert!
Yeah. Just in case if you didn't catch the last 2. So yeah, that is the main thing, and I think it is purgatory. And
I really like that. Once you said that, it totally made sense. That and now when I rewatch the movie again, which I will.
Yeah.
Is that looking at it from that lens, it changes the entire perspective of the movie.
It really does.
Because all of a sudden you're like, oh, these characters have different meanings and there's different... I mean, it's very obvious all the way through the movie because there's a lot of religious overtone throughout it. The main character is actually called the Messiah several times throughout the movie.
Times, yes.
So I wasn't so dense that I didn't get that reference to it, but the purgatory aspect, which I think, especially with the fact that you've got this very naive... innocent, and they do talk about there are some people that leave and there are a lot of people that don't.
Yeah,
which is a huge part of it.
I think it's purgatory, and at the very top you have the gateway to heaven, and at the very bottom, which is where basically the black pit is, because that's what it is at level 333.
But I think it's and like we talked about before, I think it's like a test. What do you do when you're at those upper levels? Because then you can kind of get punished later on the next month if you're abusing the gift of being at these upper levels where you can.
I really think I like that addition to the theory that I had.
Interesting thing I think is a part of it, and we haven't really referenced this yet, is that people who are on the upper levels frequently commit suicide because they have nothing to fill their time. They're so bored with the people who are down lower have a stronger will to survive.
They're
because
fighting for their life.
Yeah, the people up there, they basically live in luxury and they don't have to fight for anything. So they get bored and they actually end up killing themselves more frequently than the people down there.
Which is a very societal aspect if we think about it, because a lot of people,
the lower class, the lower everything they need.
Yeah, the lower class people, honestly, if you're living in a fucking third world country, you're not going to commit suicide because something else will probably kill you faster than that.
Well, and I think that's that inherent determination as a human that you want to survive.
Exactly.
But then when you have everything, you're kind of like, oh. So I have nothing to fight for, and your mind starts going more.
Yeah, you start thinking more, and when you think more, the more that you think, oh shit, what happens when I go down all the way to the bottom again?
Yeah, so that's a really cool part of this movie that I really liked, and I do like the idea that it's purgatory, and I like the idea when they say that he's getting a degree and all that. It's kind of like going to the next. When they leave, they're gonna kind of go to the promised land, and things are gonna be better. That's what it is that there's a promise at the end, but then you've got his roommate who does not have that guarantee.
Yeah,
and that's a big point in the movie.
Which, I forgot my third theory.
This is your show.
I know. I completely forgot the third theory.
This is why you have a PowerPoint with bullet points.
And I completely forgot throughout mid-conversation. But honestly,
dancing.
That added to it. So honestly, those two theories
The views go up when I start dancing. I don't know if you've noticed that, though.
But it's also delayed by 30 seconds. And that's when we start lowering.
I think they like my dancing.
I strongly disagree, but anyways, so yes, I honestly do think that this movie has a lot to add to it, but also the fact that you find the child at the very bottom.
Yeah.
And that's where it's kind of like, it throws the monkey in the wrench, because these people are going all the way to the bottom to try to prove to the upper echelon people that what do you call it?
But it was when he finally did something. That's the cool part. That when he finally, Don Quixote basically finally decides to act and not just sit on his ass. That's when he finally gets to the bottom.
But then he realizes what he did.
Yeah,
and he realized all the bad that he did too.
That's a huge catalyst in the movie that he finally got up and did something. He wasn't just talking about doing something, which he basically spent the whole movie talking about.
He did.
Talking about doing something and never doing it.
Exactly. So he actually grabs one of the roommates that he ends up with afterwards, and they end up going all the way down and taking the food all the way down, portioning it out correctly. And that's where they realize that there's 333 levels, not the 250 that were thought of before. And that's a huge game changer, because you're like, these people didn't have enough food, no matter which way you put it.
Well, and side note, I love the scene when it's the first time he wakes up with the switch of the months. And his roommate's like, that's all the people, they're screaming because they're learning what levels they're on because they know what it means right away. And it's a huge, really cool part of the movie when they show the level. It's the start of the month. They always show this dramatic shot of the number. Yeah. And since you know what the numbers mean, as you get progressively through the movie, when you see the numbers on, you're like that's bad. And you feel it. You know that it's bad. And
then you start realizing, oh shit, how are they going to survive down here? The only way that they survive is actually by resorting to cannibalism.
Yeah.
And that's where...
My little escargot.
Yes.
Well, but it's cool because it's cannibalism. It's unintentional at first, but you see them growing a comfort level with it. And I think that's kind of cool, even though it's a disturbing topic, is that you have to get used to it.
And that's why when he finally does get to the bottom, I think that's why he stands off the platform and allows the child to go up by herself.
Yeah.
Is because he's not worthy of it anymore. He's been tainted by the fact that he's actually committed the same atrocities that he said and condemned right before this whole started, the last month. And that's where the thing changes completely. And you're like, holy shit, why is he walking off into the darkness of this pit with the ghost
with the person they found very
roommate?
contemptible
Yeah.
to begin with. That's the interesting part, is that they're kind of like the ghosts of Christmas past. And
I think it's more that he finally falls in line with that same thought process that he had, he gets absorbed.
I'm telling you, but I love the fact that they say that once he eats them, spoiler, they're a part of him forever, and he can never get rid of them, and they're like inside his brain all the time, torturing him. So he's going through mental torture at that point too, where he can't get these voices out of his head. Obviously, that'll be funny when you watch it.
Oh, geez, that one line. That one line will forever be embedded in your mind forever.
Which one?
The one that the roommate hates. Fucking love that. The way that... And there's no way to... So, watching it in Spanish, that shit gets stuck in your head. And I don't want to say that word anymore.
Obviously.
Obviamente. You have to say it with the Spanish accent, a little plain. So
this is when we need subtitles across the bottom.
He said the subtitle. So yes, honestly, this is a fucking phenomenal movie, and the ending, it really sticks the landing. No pun intended. It really sticks the landing, and it really holds your attention from the very end.
All the way through.
And
all the way through. It is very,
ending.
And it's one of those movies where I usually, like, when I start a movie, I'll usually end up about halfway through kind of checking how much is left if I'm not really engaged with it. It was not like that at all.
No.
I've watched it several times since then, and it still holds up.
Exactly. And
which says a lot about me, that I've watched this quite a few times.
Yeah. Right? This is why I love her. But
it's not like Silence of the Lambs style cannibalism. It's got depth and meaning. But it is like enough where you're kind of like, especially like, because it's not just people who are dead already.
Yeah.
Spoiler, it's not. Like, Yeah. They're kind of like, again, my little escargot.
Little fucking squirrel thing. Really? You had to do the little squirrel noise? But anyways, no, it really does stick the landing, and it holds your attention. And the fucking great part of this movie is that how long did we have a conversation about this movie before coming on the show?
No.
How many hours have we spent talking about it?
Is the song or the music that goes all the way through it, which gets stuck in your head, but in a good way.
Yes.
Because it is literally what time sounds like, I think. If time had a sound, that would be it. But it's so cool.
It's
because it epitomizes the amount of time that's going by. But it's really cool. Yeah. I love it. And when it comes on, you know that it's going to go on to that kind of like quick shots of what's going on. But you feel like the length of time, and it's still really like little quick snippets, but you feel like the drudgery of time moving on. It's really, really cool. I love it.
I do too. I really do. So let's go into the spoilers of Circle. Circle, the very end, it's the choice is made. And the
choice is made. It's so dramatic.
I know, right?
The choice is made.
There is one character that manipulates the whole group. And when I first saw this, I literally went in my chair. I would go, Holy shit, that
He
was
is the
fucking
dude
cool.
that you are like rooting for the whole way
Yes.
through. You're like, this guy is the shit. He is what humanity, the height of what humanity
Yes.
should be. And you're like, I love this dude
He's
because
woke.
he is amazing.
Yeah.
And you just, but side note, he looks exactly like Jesse fucking Eisenberg.
Yeah, he does.
All the way through it. I was sitting there,
does.
I'm like, God, he looks like him in Social Network.
Yeah,
I mean,
he does.
oh my God, all the way through. And I think that
Yeah.
a lot of this in the movie, as a side note, is a lot of like rip-offs of like they look like major stars. But
I
there's
think
not
it's that
really anybody in it.
connectivity. No.
But I
there's
think that's
nobody.
kind of what it is. But I think that's sort of kind of a cool part of the movie. There's no main stars in it, but they all kind of are reminiscent of main stars. So
Exactly.
it's a cool thing. And they're all really, I mean, they're not super talented. This guy is, though. Like, all
I
the way
think when you whittle it down to the last, like, maybe 15 or
Mhm.
so, that is when you get real acting.
Yeah,
like,
the other ones are
before
sort of like
that, it's
extras, kind of
of-
standing
yeah.
there. Like, they don't really add a lot to
They
it.
feel like soap opera actors, a
Yeah.
lot of them. But it's really still enjoyable, and you don't lose the content of the film
Can
until
I
you
just
get
say,
to that
I
fun
love
part.
the fact that once they found out that lady worked in HR, she went really, really fast.
Nobody likes HR.
Nobody likes HR.
Nobody likes HR.
Don't
Let's
point
be
at me.
honest. Nobody likes HR. I'm not pointing at you.
You are. sort of.
That's your own subconscious there
Mm.
thinking. But no, nobody likes HR. And this, I love how it ends with that manipulation factor and the fact that he waits.
But I think that's so true to humanity.
It
It's
is.
what it is. It's that this guy played the system and he played it from the very start. And when you rewatch the movie, because
It's
I
so
watched it on
good.
my own and then I watched it with you because you needed a little refresher on it.
Yeah.
But watching it, knowing what the end was, it changed my whole lens on him throughout the movie because I'm like, you fucking asshole.
And
Like,
the
you
little
play it,
subtle
and you see it all the way
nuances.
through so much more. Like,
Yeah.
all through it, you're like, that's how he did it. He
Yeah.
played the system, and that's humanity, basically.
Yeah.
How do you benefit?
And-
How are you going to play this situation? And he even references it during
Oh
it.
yeah, he does.
Like, that it's playing a game, but you think he's playing it for an altruistic reason.
Yeah, which
And
it is
he's
not.
Jinx.
You gotta take a sip. No more dancing. So yes, 100.
It was great
100%.
when it all began.
100%. 100% agreed that this, at the very end, it gets real quick.
Yes.
And we find out that he kills both. Not only the little
Actually, he
girl,
calls all three. If
all
you
three,
wanted,
yes. Which I was going to get to that. But
Spoiler.
he kills the little girl. He
But he
chooses
tricks
the-
her.
Yeah.
That is, I think, the worst part of the movie, actually.
He
is that
tricks her
he
to commit
manipulates
suicide.
her. Yeah, but she does it in this, like, she is willing to sacrifice herself for an unborn child, and he, like,
And then he
totally plays her. He's like,
chooses
you are
the
amazing.
mom.
Like, and he does it. Yeah, he kills both of them in one shot.
in
basically.
one shot. And then
Masterful timing at that.
yes. And then it rings and it goes, there's two. It's a draw.
Mhm.
And he's like, what the hell? And at first he thinks this is all a fucking scam
Mhm.
and everybody's gonna
He was going to
die.
die no matter what.
And then suddenly you hear the bling and the two lights appear. And he's like, oh, the pregnant woman's child cannot choose. And
Yeah.
and he ends up surviving and left over, and he basically gets teleported, I guess,
Back to Earth.
back to Earth.
But the cool part is if
And then you see the people that
the
survive.
group at the end, and a couple of them are actually pregnant women.
Yes.
So that's interesting to me, where they probably
And a
were with
couple
a
men.
group that was more altruistic, and they actually did survive. So I think it's kind of playing into that. In those scenarios, the pregnant woman, did survive, probably because they didn't have a child dynamic in there too.
But
So-
you also saw that there was a lot of guys, too.
Yeah, there are. And I think it's interesting that it's usually the men, and I think they even said it at one point, is women and children first doesn't apply in this situation, in a survivalist role.
Which I don't agree with, but whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, honestly, these two endings of these movies are things that will haunt you and
This
stay in
with
your
you,
mind.
yeah. Like, and you want to think about it, and you kind of really want to watch it again afterward, because you're like, I want to see it again, knowing what the end is.
But you see why I made you watch the
No.
Circle, because it's why I made you want to watch the Circle Circle after watching the platform.
The platform, yes, I did. But I still, like, for me, I would give Circle more like a 7, as opposed to the platform, which I would give a 9.5. Because I enjoyed the platform more. I thought it had more levels and more layers to it. And it engaged my attention more than Circle, which I saw twice, and I'm kind of good. Not that it's a bad movie, but I wouldn't need to go back and rewatch it again to.
I agree. It's definitely one of those movies that we were just talking right before we came on. That it is once you watch it once, once you watch it twice, you're good for a long time.
First, you watch it the first time and you're like, oh, mind blown, and then you watch it the second time, you're like, okay, I'm good.
It's like Sixth Sense.
You're not going to get anything new out of it.
It's like Sixth Sense.
I think after you watch it twice, you've kind of gotten the nuances, and as opposed to the platform where you could watch it. I'm on time, I think 4 or 5 now, and I'm still seeing new stuff, and I'm still appreciating it.
And that shows you the level of kind of talent that is done by all these films. Mm-hmm. And I want to go into a little bit of the cinematography of both of these films.
Okay.
They're very similar.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, it is extremely similar how both of these are shot. They're both shot
almost
very
single
dark.
To like almost one setting throughout
all
the movie. It's very
high concept.
Has a couple of scenes outside of it, but very minimal. It's basically in one room.
Yeah, and same thing. The platform is literally the tower and then the upstairs.
Yeah,
that's it, really. And then there's what do you call it? Circle. It only has 2 locations. Circle. And then the circle that's there.
What, like the minute that's outside?
The minute that's outside.
Like 30 seconds outside.
Yeah. And then you find out about the aliens, which is pretty cool. But the cinematography in this is fucking gorgeous, especially in Circle. Like, just the fact that it's completely pitch black outside of this group of people, and the way that the lighting plays little tricks and kind of make you feel paranoid of what's on the other side of that. That plays a huge part.
I have to say the fact that the platform is almost completely monotone gray.
Oh yeah,
is amazing and beautiful, and I would feel
it's
like
it would be something. 100%.
It would be something where you would almost lose your attention because there's not a lot in it, but it actually captivates you more because it draws you into the movie so much more because you feel this gray box of just
because
nothing.
It's literally that color scheme.
Literally,
the whole film is literally that color
with
scheme.
red. There's a lot of red in it too because of red light.
Yeah.
So, but it's very dark and it makes you almost depressed watching
Except when you're up at the top.
Yes, there is light at the top. Yeah.
Light.
But I think that
light at the top.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, even if you look at this picture, you can see it. Look at that. I mean, like the depression, you can see it just from that picture, and that's a lot of what the movie is all about being depressed and that weight that comes with it. So, I personally, I would. Again, I think
I recommend both of them. But I think they're good companion pieces.
They are.
But the platform is
a
more superior.
If you were looking for 2 movies that are comparable and it would give you something to think about, and especially if you like comparing movies that take the same concept but do it in different spins, these are 2 really great ones. Yeah, platform definitely takes the cake for both of us. I definitely think both of them are it's a far superior film than Circle. But Circle has that commentary that you could talk about. Circle is really good for people who appreciate
dark comedy.
Dark comedy and something that's feels very quick. Not that the platform doesn't feel quick, but Circle feels super quick. I think because of that
the
time
platform
thing.
is 2 hours,
but it feels faster because it like literally. They have 2 minutes, but I think it's almost like 30 seconds of film time, basically, between it. So that's kind of cool. And I like the fact that it does make you think about what would I do in that moment, as opposed to the platform where you're kind of like, I mean, you do think about what it would be like, but it's not as much where you're like, what would I do? Like, what decision would I make? Because there are not really a lot of decisions in this movie.
There isn't.
As opposed to Circle, where you would go like, okay, what would I do in that moment?
And both of them have very intriguing side characters.
Honestly, though, if I was in Circle, I would not understand this till right at the very end of how this dynamic. I'd be sitting there like, what? Who am I killing with my hands? Because I don't. This is too this is why I don't gamble.
That's why you don't gamble, sure. Anyways, so yes, both of these are highly recommended by us, and they're both streaming on Netflix, especially La Plataforma. Go watch. You have to watch this movie. It is fucking brilliant.
With the kids, though.
No, not
it is not kid friendly. I would Circle a little bit more. I think you could watch with older kids. Yeah.
Little kids.
Platform, I would not watch with any kids of any age. I think that it's a little too violent. Grotesque. It's very detailed in its violence too, and I think it's got a lot of concepts that kids just wouldn't understand, or if they would actually scare them. It will. I mean, it is. There are some scenes where I was like it took a lot to watch them, so I would not.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you guys for listening in, watching in, and please go onto our platforms and check us. Platforms. Sorry, I had to with that one.
It's like
check
delayed.
out.
You didn't even realize you did.
I know.
I'm gonna call you out. That was not you being super like cerebral.
Not at all. Midnight Movie Nerds on any of the podcast platforms, including this one, will be dropping soon. So please check us out, subscribe to the channel, and just check out our content. Also, I want to make that special announcement that next Friday we are actually going to be dropping our live show for the first time ever. Manbitesmedia, the 3 idiots with a mic, will be coming to you live on Facebook from 7 o'clock until about 8:30. We're estimating around that time. So the full show is going to be live for the first time. And for anybody else out there knows exactly what I'm talking about, it's actually live, yes. So
Live,
we'll see you guys
never
soon. Yes. But this time it will. So he's going to have to change that.
No, he's going to keep saying it. It's going to be really funny. He has to do a shot every time he says it.
Yes, that is going to be the thing.
He'll be drunk by the end.
Yes, that would be interesting.
So stay tuned for next time.
Yes, and we'll let you guys know.
Spoiler alert!
Yes, the next thing that we're going to be doing live will be the mouse movies, and that's her idea, not mine. Because I hate the mouse.
But, it's an homage to the parks being closed down. And to Jen. Shout out to Jen.
Hi, Jen.
Who's not watching right now, but she will.
Yeah, she will.
Mouse.
And everybody else out there that's Disney. Erica. Anyways, see you guys soon. My name is Louis.
Princess Naomi.
And we are
Disney.
Midnight Movie Nerds.